My name's okay. Welcome to another episode of Live Without Limits, Reach Personal Success on a Daily Basis. I'm your host, David Shinsky, and today we're going to dive into the captivating world of stonewalling and communication. We will discuss ways to promote open communication. So, what is stonewalling? 6 signs, 8 causes, and tips to promote open communication. It is no secret that conflicts and misunderstandings exist in every relationship, despite how the relationship might look like to the outside world. How these are dealt with will determine how the relationship will progress or end. How do you deal with conflicts in your relationships? One of you can think that there are two kinds of people: the ones who are always ready to address an issue when it is still burning and the iron is out, any differences or concerns immediately, and those who need some time to think about it before eventually having a discussion. Over time, I have learned that there is also a third group: people who do not want to deal with the issue at all. How many times, when you try to talk to someone, do they just either shut up, walk away, or they sit there and completely lie to your face? One way to do this is through stonewalling. This is when one cautiously or subconsciously shuts down and opts not to deal with the issue. So, what is stonewalling? Stonewalling is a coping mechanism that some people use to deal with uncomfortable situations. It is a communication behavior and a form of interpersonal conflict where one person actively and intentionally refuses to engage in conversation, provide information, or respond to questions or comments from another person. It involves shutting down communication and can manifest in various ways. So, what are the 6 signs of stonewalling? Silent treatment. The stonewaller may completely ignore the other person, refusing to speak, make eye contact, or acknowledge their presence. If it is over text, they will simply leave the other person to read. Monosyllabic responses. When confronted with questions or comments, the stonewaller may respond with short, unhelpful answers or minimal verbal communication. Avoidance. Stonewalling may also involve physically leaving the room or situation to avoid the conversation altogether. And sometimes that might be good if it's a confrontation that is toxic, and it's the only way to avoid it with that person because they only want to be very bitter and very angry and want to start an argument with you. Changing the subject. The stonewaller may divert the conversation away from the topic at hand, making it difficult to address the issue or concern. Pretending not to understand. Some individuals engage in stonewalling by acting as if they don't understand what the other person is saying, even when it's clear. They could also gaslight the other person by making them question their feelings and whether those feelings are valid and if they are recalling events correctly. being sarcastic or passive aggressive. Others will diffuse and derail the conversation by being sarcastic and acting as though the conversation that their partner is trying to have isn't important or should not be addressed. These will certainly make it hard for the other partner to communicate their frustrations or feelings. Over time, there is a possibility that these unsolved concerns will continue building up and result in resentment and unhappiness in the relationship. 8 reasons why people stonewall. There are several reasons why people engage in stonewalling, and these are some of them. Defense mechanism. Stonewalling can be a defense mechanism when used by someone who feels overwhelmed, threatened, or emotionally triggered. It allows them to create emotional distance and protect themselves from emotional pain or conflict. I can tell you a a reason for that, and that could be if you're caught up in a triangle where you've got two people who are either the persecutor or the rescuer, and the third person being the victim, where they're ganging up on them to make them feel bad about themselves. Avoidance of conflict. Some individuals stonewall to avoid confrontations or conflicts that they find uncomfortable or threatening. They may believe that ignoring the issue will make it go away, or that it's the only way to maintain peace. Emotional regulation. People stay or make. Okay, let me start over. Emotional regulation. People may stonewall when they struggle to regulate their emotions effectively. Instead of expressing their feelings and thoughts in a healthy manner, they choose to withdraw and disengage from the situation. So, lack of communication skills. And this is something that I found that was really important and evident within my family, because if they weren't putting you down or gaslighting you, they knew no other way to communicate. Some individuals may not have the necessary communication skills to effectively express their thoughts and emotions. They may resort to stonewalling as a way of coping with their inability to articulate themselves. Power and control. In some cases, stonewalling can be manipulative tactic used to gain power and control in a relationship or situation by withholding communication and affection. The stonewaller can exert influence over the other person. Fear of vulnerability. Hearing one's emotions and thoughts can make a person feel vulnerable. Stonewalling can be an attempt to protect oneself from being emotionally exposed or hurt. Learned behavior. Some individuals may have learned that stonewalling as a coping mechanism can be, or rather, they learn it from their family or previous relationships. If they observe this behavior growing up, they may use it as a way to cope with difficult situations. Passive aggressive. Stonewalling can also be a form of passive aggressive behavior. Instead of openly expressing their displeasure or frustration, a person may choose to withdraw and withhold communication as a means of expressing their discontent. No matter the reason behind the behavior, it is not okay and should also be addressed and dealt with. So, how do you deal with stonewalling? Stonewalling can be a harmful and frustrating behavior in relationships and communication because it effectively shuts down the opportunity for resolution, understanding, or compromise. It often escalates conflicts and can lead to further communication breakdowns and emotional distress between individuals. Stonewalling often results in exacerbated understanding, unresolved issues, damaged trust and intimacy, feelings of isolation and neglect, low self esteem, a sense of confusion, frustration. Addressing stonewalling in a relationship typically involves open and honest communication, empathy, and sometimes seeking the help of a therapist or counselor to work through the underlying issues causing the behavior. Here are some tips for dealing with stonewalling. Stay calm and avoid getting angry. Express your feelings in a clear and direct way. Don't try to force the other person to talk. Set a time to talk later when both of you are calm. Seek professional help if the stonewalling is causing problems in your relationship. So, are you dealing with stonewalling? Obviously, problems are not going to get solved if one or both people choose to ignore the situation or pretend it doesn't exist at all. Whether this is a defense mechanism, a learned behavior from childhood, or a bid for power and control, stonewalling is not healthy. Try using some of these tips for recognizing and addressing stonewalling in your relationship. And don't be afraid to reach out for help from a therapist or trained professional if you are not able to resolve the issue. And also remember this, many times in a family, they would rather stonewall than deal with any issues and confront them and build stronger relationships. Therefore, if you find yourself in that situation, sometimes the best way to deal with it is just to walk away.